elections in court.
They're playing to the Latino community, and they're trying to use that scare card to generate a support for elections.
Tell Obama, stop the spending.
When Mitt Romney did that, he made me sick.
We ought to be thinking about ways to make, the Congress work for working and middle-class families again.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thanks so much for joining us this Monday evening, June 25th. A lot to cover this hour, and up first, though, we're going to tell you what the Supreme Court said today. Show me your papers. Well, the High Court ruled on that controversial Arizona immigration law earlier today, and they struck down much of the law, but they upheld that key show me your papers provision. We'll tell you more about that. And then we're going to hear from you at home. You're obviously an important part of this program, and we don't just mean lip service to that. Tonight, we're going to give you the platform to sound off. What do you think of the Supreme Court's decision when it came to Arizona's immigration law? Do you think it promotes racial profiling? Do you think it struck down what was at the end the unconstitutional element of it? Well, our toll-free number is right up there on the screen, 387-66-2428. You can call us. You can also Facebook us, send us a tweet. We'll get to your comments. And later, justice for juveniles. The Supreme Court was very busy today, going beyond just immigration. They also ruled that juvenile offenders cannot serve life without parole. And the decision, it was closer than you might have imagined. And then we bring it closer to home with the primaries. Tomorrow, primary day for a lot of our region. We're going to tell you which contests are the races to watch. All that and much more. It's coming up on this edition of RFL. But let's begin, of course, with the Supreme Court's decision on one of the most talked about issues this campaign season, immigration. Let's begin with Andrew, who's in first position with the very latest.
And Rich, in a different year, this might have been the biggest Supreme Court case of the year. As it turns out, still one of the biggest. The highest court in the land today giving its ruling on Arizona's controversial immigration law, upholding a key portion of the legislation, the so-called Papers, Please provision, while in the process striking down other parts. Now, the provision that was upheld requires police to check a person's immigration status while enforcing other laws if, quote, reasonable suspicion exists that the person is an illegal immigrant. It's a provision that some have said promotes racial profiling. Both sides claimed victory after the Supreme Court's ruling on the Arizona immigration law. It's a big win for the federal government. The court confirmed its sweeping power to set immigration law. Going forward, Arizona and the other 49 states cannot make it a crime to be in the U.S. illegally, and they can't enact any laws that interfere with federal policy. That was the Obama administration's main argument when Arizona's Republican governor, Jan Brewer, signed the controversial law 2 years ago. During oral arguments in April, the court seemed sympathetic to the challenges Arizona faced with illegal immigration. Justice Anthony Kennedy said, quote, the state of Arizona has a massive emergency with social disruption, economic disruption, residents leaving the state because of a flood of immigrants. For now, Arizona law enforcement officials can continue to check the immigration status of every person that is stopped or arrested.
It's to determine whether you're in this country illegally and when you have suspicion. I think that's important. We've been doing it anyway for 4 years. Some Arizona residents say the threat of racial profiling is still very real.
It's very scary for me to, have that in the back of my head that I can still be pulled over and even maybe deported. Today, Governor Brewer claimed victory.
The state of Arizona and Senate Bill 1070 was vindicated, and the heart of the bill was upheld.
After Arizona officials check an immigration status of somebody, there is little else they can do. The Supreme Court's ruling today means that states still cannot deport illegal immigrants. That is a responsibility only the federal government has. Rich?
All right, Andrew, and we're going to get into all of this. As I said, the audience, we're going to get their perspective. Immigration reform here, we saw this in the Republican primaries, and certainly the president has taken a different vantage point with the DREAM Act even recently. So we'll talk about the politics of that in the election year. We'll also be joined by a constitutional expert to say what went down here today and what it really means, because there's some confusion. But we use the term split decision. Is there enough for each group to read into what they wanted to hear today? It seems, at least, that a lot of people who like this law felt that the guts of it, at least, were stripped out.
Well, because only a portion of it, or because one portion was upheld and the rest was thrown out, there's really enough meat for both sides to claim victory, and both sides have claimed that this is a victory for their side. So you've heard from conservatives and from Governor Brewer, who said this is a vindication. You've also heard from the White House and from Democrats today saying this is a vindication of what we've been asking for. So if everybody's able to declare victory, it makes you wonder if it really is a clear-cut victory for anybody.
And you know, we've talked about on this program, I mean, we talked about stop and frisk quite a bit in the last few weeks. There's been other issues. The common meme is profiling. You know, what are you allowed to say? That person doesn't fit, and I'm going to ask or do something about it. And where do those rights extend? Federal, state here, what are the thresholds? We're going to get into all of that because to me that's part of the interesting dialogue.